Not working? Rebecca? Brianna? Andy, we're good? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Clovis City Council meeting for Monday, October 6th. We will call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. At this time, if you would all rise, and Councilmember Basco will lead us in the flag salute.
Please join me in the flags.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Matt. Can we get roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Baskel? Councilmember Bessinger?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce?
Here.
Mayor Moanatua?
Here.
And Councilmember Ashbeck will be absent today.
Okay. Now we're going to move to presentations, and tonight we have a presentation of a proclamation declaring October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Councilmember Matt Basco will be reading our proclamation.
Okay. So proclamating October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence impacts countless individuals without regard to age, race, religion, or economic status. As victims suffer at the hands of a spouse or partner, it affects their children, families, and entire communities. Domestic violence is widespread and affects over 12 million men and women in the United States each year, and is, at its most tragic level, kills an average of 3 women every day. And whereas more than 600 domestic violence reports were filed by the City of Clovis law enforcement last year, and as Fresno County only dedicated provider of domestic violence safe housing and comprehensive supportive services, Marjorie Mason Center served 8,482 adults and children impacted by domestic violence last year, including over 81,000 nights of safe shelter. And whereas Marjorie Mason Center has operated a safe house for survivors of domestic violence in the City of Clovis as transitional housing for the last 12 years, Marjorie Mason Center actively partners with the City of Clovis, the Clovis Police Department, and other community partners to ensure survivors have access to safe housing, support with restraining orders, and other services. And whereas each October, the formal recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month allows the community to acknowledge and show their support for survivors and advocates to end the cycle of abuse through education. And whereas Purple Thursday, October 16th, is a national day dedicated to remembering the victims of domestic violence, to supporting survivors, and to raising awareness on local resources available to put an end to domestic violence. And whereas a partnership of organizations has emerged to directly confront this crisis and are achieving success, the Marjorie Mason Center, along with law enforcement, healthcare providers, clergy, and concerned citizens, are helping in the effort to end domestic violence. We must recognize the compassion and dedication of these volunteers and professionals and increase public understanding of this important problem. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Clovis City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Clovis, does proclaim the month of October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
I think we have representatives from the Marjorie Mason Center and other organizations. Did you want to say something, Nicole or Chief? Or
Good afternoon or evening. Thank you so much for honoring Domestic Violence Awareness Month. My name is Jessica Saylor. I oversee prevention, education, and outreach. So I have the opportunity to help spread awareness about domestic violence within the different cities in the county of Fresno. We are so thankful for the continued support that you've offered us through the years, and we are also very excited to give you little purple ribbons to be able to wear once we have finished our thanks and speeches. But thank you again for all your continued support.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Apodaca, and I represent the Crisis Response Department at the Marjorie Mason Center. On behalf of our entire team, I want to thank the City of Clovis for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and for your continued partnership in ensuring that emergency services remain available for those in crisis 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Your recognition today honors the collaborative work that happens daily and nightly across Clovis and throughout Fresno County Whether it's a call from law enforcement in the middle of the night, a survivor reaching out from the hospital, or someone walking into our center seeking help for the very first time, your support allows us to respond immediately, compassionately, and effectively. In Clovis, we are proud to offer weekly legal option classes where survivors can receive hands-on assistance with restraining orders, court accompaniment, and guidance through the judicial process. These classes empower survivors to understand their rights, prepare for hearings, and take informed steps toward long-term safety. Our crisis response team also provides on-scene emergency services, responding directly to calls from Clovis Police Department, Clovis Community Medical Center, and other local partners. From safety planning and transportation to emergency shelter placement, our advocates ensure no survivor faces these moments alone. This work embodies what Domestic Violence Awareness Month stands for: recognizing pain, restoring safety, and rebuilding hope. Every advocate within our department is trained in trauma-informed care, which means we respond not only to the danger, but to the person, meeting survivors with patience, understanding, and respect for their choices. We know that trauma affects how someone speaks, remembers, or reacts, and our goal is always to provide stability and options, never pressure or judgment. In moments of chaos, we bring calm. In moments of fear, we offer dignity. That's what trauma-informed emergency response looks like. The strength of our work in Clovis is rooted in partnership with local law enforcement, hospitals, first responders, and city leadership, who understands that domestic violence is not a private issue, but a public safety concern that requires a united community response. This proclamation is more than symbolic. It is a reminder that by standing together as responders, advocates, officers, and neighbors, we can create a community where survivors feel seen, supported, and safe. On behalf of the Crisis Response Department and all of our emergency service partners, I extend our deepest gratitude to the City of Clovis for recognizing our work and courage of the survivors we serve. Your ongoing support represents hope, partnership, and a progress towards safer community for every resident, and together we can turn awareness into action and action into lasting change. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. I just have a few brief things. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the City of Clovis for continuing to recognize and honor Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I also wanted to acknowledge we do our Top 10 Professional Women Awards every year, and this year we're super excited that Amy Hans, General Services Director for the City of Clovis, is one of our honorees and will be celebrated next Wednesday at the Convention Center with a few thousand people. I also wanted to take a moment and thank you for your significant investment in our crisis response team. You heard from Tiffany a few minutes ago and how important that team is to the services in our community. She's showing around a picture, and I wanted to take 2 seconds to read a card. The picture is of Anna Richards, Clovis resident, former Clovis resident, and her son, Elliot. Her mom gave us this picture along with a card, and I wanted to read it for you today. This picture is of Anna and taken at the last event they attended on October 7th. So the anniversary is tomorrow, 2021, at the Fresno Fair. We estimate the photo was taken 40 minutes before she was shot and killed in our driveway. Because the Marjorie Mason Center provided classes and therapy, she knew to use a safe word with Elliot, her then 8-year-old son. It was the last word she spoke. It saved 5 lives that night. I called her at 10 p.m. to check in on her safety and her location. They were both so happy to be chosen to pose in that picture with the parents. Eleanor says, thank you for your efforts to continuing educating communities about domestic violence. That was a sad day, and yet Eleanor continues to remind us of how important all of the services that we provide and our strategic and intentional partnership with communities to keep people safe. So thank you. I'd like to introduce Marjorie Mason Center board member and Clovis Police Chief Kurt Fleming.
I wasn't even going to speak, but I guess I am. Yeah, I've been on the board for 2 years and get to work with an amazing group of individuals here that you've seen today. Clovis, yeah, if a homicide occurs in Clovis, has typically been, in the last 5 years, domestic violence related. So we're really trying to strengthen that partnership with the Marjorie Mason Center over the last 5 years. And I just want to take a moment to recognize Nicole, who's, oh, yes, who's put 9 years of blood, sweat, and tears into the Marjorie Mason Center, and she's going to be moving on here at the end of the year into the beginning of the next year. She's accomplished amazing things over the last 9 years, increasing the programs, expanding programs, centralizing things into a beautiful new building and facility. That one thing alone probably made me retire. So I just wanted to take a moment to give her a round of applause for the amazing work she's done for Fresno County. All right, I'm glad you called me up here to embarrass you. So, but thank you for the City of Clovis, City Council, and supporting this last year. We put some additional money towards the crisis hotline directly from our budget into that to support back into Clovis and helping our residents. So appreciate that and our continued partnership. And if we can get a quick photo real quick. Yeah, all right.
Any comments from the council?
Just real quickly, domestic violence was one of those family secrets. I know I came from a domestic violence background. As a law enforcement officer, when I started in 1980, if there weren't visible injuries, there was nothing we could do. And thankfully, over the years, we've gotten smarter and created laws which got victims to speak up because law enforcement was going to do something about it. I remember a period in the early 2000s, we had 5 homicides in that many weeks, and all of them were domestic violence related. So this is real. These are things that happen. They happen in big, beautiful homes. They happen in apartments. They happen everywhere because some people, instead of talking it out, they use their hands. And so the Marjorie Mason Center does excellent work. Having them as a resource in our community is really important, and just want to say thank you.
Just want to say thank you to Nicole. 9 years, and we go way back to when Nicole started at the Marjorie Mason Center. And just thank you for your continued hard work and dedication. And being the leader of an organization for 9 years takes its toll. And for what you've done, thank you for standing up for everyone and being that voice out there in our community. So, thank you.
Go ahead, Diane.
Yeah, I just want to thank all of the partnerships that are involved in this, because I think there's been a lot of increased awareness over maybe the last decade or so, and a lot of the stigma in that is starting to kind of fall away, but that's not the time to let off the gas, right? And so I just think it's so important to continue with that fight to bring that awareness, and everything that you guys do is maybe even more important now, because those who are still suffering in silence might be even more difficult because that isn't there. So once they make that critical decision to reach out for services, the fact that you guys are there to do so many different wraparound types of things is just so valuable. And it truly is. I appreciate what Chief Fleming said about, our investment into the Marjorie Mason program, and how that's really just a reinvestment into our own community. And when we can see things that way, and how what other organizations are doing that impacts so positively our residents, and that, I think it really just reminds us the importance of the decisions that we make, and how even something that in the grand scheme of things, it's one decision, but the value that brings back to the people that we serve. And so thank you for partnering with us and continuing to make us aware of the need, and please keep up the good work. And again, Nicole, thank you so much for everything you've done. I know, like I say, there's been a lot of strides in your time with the Marjorie Mason Center, and that's fantastic. And we will miss you dearly, but I know you are turning it over and leaving it in very good hands. And so we thank you for that and wish you the best in whatever you take on next.
Yeah, I want to thank Councilmember Basco. He was on the board when I wasn't even on the council, already working there. And then now Chief Fleming, for you continuing to represent our city on the Marjorie Mason Board. You know, it says here 600 kind of reports. That's only the reports, and how much more is not reported, and the work that you do to give people safety. And, you know, personally, I've called you several times, not for me personally, but for those who have called me. And the resources that you have provided are just, it gives those who are in that situation, you know, a breath of fresh air. They know they have a safe place to go, and your employees are ready to just comfort them, empower them, and protect them. And so thank you. And Nicole, thank you for your service all these years. I know that the Lord has blessed your work because you've been faithful to the mission, but also to what God has instilled in your heart to care for the most needy. And like I said, you know, a couple years ago, our community is getting more diverse in that there are more cultures. And for you to navigate all that and to go, okay, now we have a big, you know, during, we know the Iraqi war, a lot of Iraqi immigrants came, refugees came, we came, and now you probably have Afghanistan refugees. And to deal with all those and go, everyone is struggling with it. How do we, as the Marjorie Mason Center, protect every single men, women who is in domestic violence? Thank you for that work and for just being so nimble and so aware of the different cultures. That I think you probably don't hear it as much as those of us within the community, but that is awesome work that you guys do. So thank you for that. Congratulations on your, maybe not retirement, but moving on to something else. So, and thank you to the staff. So if you can come up, we have the proclamation up here. We'd like to take a picture with you. Next is public comment. Okay, this is an opportunity for members of the public to address the city council on items that are within our jurisdiction, but is not on the agenda. If you can limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, if you can state your name and give your address for the record. And once again, I would like to ask, I know there's a large group here, but if we can refrain from, you know, cheering or booing at the same time, we just want to keep the decorum within the meeting so we can keep moving forward. So go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff, as well as the constituents of Clovis. My name is Richie Saivong. I'm with the California Department of Insurance. I'm here in behalf of Commissioner Ricardo Lara. We are a state agency that is here to assist consumers to protect them from fraud and abuse from insurance companies. We're responsible for regulating insurance companies, the marketplace here in California. So whether it's filing a complaint with the insurance company, understanding your coverage, or resolving issues with insurance, you can visit our department website at insurance.ca.gov or call us on our consumer hotline, which is 1-800-927-4357. We guarantee if we're not able to answer your call, leave us a voicemail. We'll call you back in 2 minutes. That's our guarantee from our department. So I'll be reaching out to our city staff directly to provide more contact information because I serve as your liaison to the department. Please do not hesitate to reach out if there are any issues. We are here to support you and your constituents. Lastly, I would also like to present that if you are interested in a brief presentation at a future city council meeting, I would be happy to provide one regarding a current update of our insurance marketplace, as well as other issues that are concerning around insurance. Thank you for your time.
Okay. And Richie, I think you can schedule that with Andy, and we would love to hear it. I think it will be great for the public as well, for them to get a report from you.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Mayor.
Thank you, Richie.
Good evening, council and people in the audience. My name is Bill Rogers. I am with the VFW here in Clovis. Tomorrow is our big day, the wall that heals. I know the city has got it in their emails and everything else. I passed out flyers to it. It's a very important day with the wall that's coming to Clovis. It's going to be here open to the public from the 9th to the 12th. Tomorrow, it'll come up Starts and Fowler, go through some schools there, come up Clovis Avenue and turn on Barstow Avenue. If you want to see the procession, it'll probably be in Clovis starting about 12:30 and go over past Monica Stadium, where there's going to be City of Clovis and Fresno Fire. We'll have a ladder up with a flag drape. The procession go underneath there, go up to Armstrong, go past Clovis Elementary where the kids will be cheering. And you can, if anybody wants to go out there and watch the procession and cheer, salute, or pay respects, you can pull along and park. And there's a bike lane, you can stand right there. And as soon as the procession's gone, you can take off. And then we'll go up north to Mickey Cox School and then Toll House and get on Herndon, go down to turn south by the Clovis Hospital by Cedarwood Elementary, where the kids are going to be out there too. Flags are being provided to the kids and come back into Donald McDonald Park there, where they're going to set up the trailer. And then tomorrow, on the 8th, we'll be setting up the wall. And what they'll be doing there is 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll be setting the framework and then take out each panel. And what we've told people, if you have somebody or know somebody on that wall, find out what panel it is. When they take the panel out, you can escort it out. We have people at the military coming over and other people that are more muscle than some of the people there in the community to carry these big heavy panels and put them in place. And then we'll have the opening ceremony on the 9th, and then the 10th at 7 o'clock, there's going to be an Agent Orange ceremony. The wall will go dark and come back in color, and then they have little sticks, and then they'll break that and the whole place will light up. And that's going to go on till that evening. At 1:45 on Sunday will be our closing ceremony. There's only going to be 3 ceremonies. The opening one, the Agent Orange, and the closing. Other than that, it's just come out, pay respects, and that's it. Any other questions, if anybody? I'll leave the rest of the flyers out here on the table if you want to pick them up. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody here in Clovis to come on out. And
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, we encourage our residents to go and see that. It's just right on David McDonald Park, right on Temperance and
it's
Sierra.
also an education center coming with it. It's a 50-foot trailer, opens up on both sides, and it's education too, besides the wall. So, thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Bill. Anyone else?
Hi. Nice to
Good
see
evening.
you all again.
Yes.
Today I'm going to talk about senior citizens. A senior citizen is defined as an elderly person aged 50 and above.
Can I get your name?
Sharon
Okay.
Foster, Clovis,
Okay, thank
California.
you.
I'm sorry. So an elderly person aged 50 and above, which the majority of us in here tonight are probably seniors. The average date of death in 2024 was 78 and a half years old, translating to a person in their 40s today that they have lived half their life. Today's seniors are traveling down a road that gets narrower and narrower with each passing day. We are living the last season of our life. Dancers are not sedentary. We speak our minds, are slow to accept change, if at all, like structure, and we're not designed for the computer age. Dance has become a staple in our lives. It's training in disguise. Every step builds strength. Every pattern sharpens focus. Every song resets our mood. We didn't realize how much fitter, sharper, and more confident we were until we lost it, also being disconnected from friends in the process. Daily routines of a senior consist of making sure we take our medication, going to doctor's appointments, attending funerals, pushing through bone and joint pain, hoping for no falls today, wondering how much longer we'll be allowed to drive, when we'll not be able to pay our bills any longer, when we'll start forgetting things and people or be put in a facility for the elderly. But when you dance, you forget all of this. Dance helps us cope with this unavoidable lifestyle for 3 to 6 hours at a time. I look to see what is needed to work at a senior center. It states, to work at a senior center, you need a caring and empathetic personality, strong communication skills, and patience to interact with the elderly. The last 3 council meetings discussion items showed this is not the case with the Clovis Senior Center. Our dance instructor, Jim Ray, has hosted Friday night dances for the past 30 years. The holiday seasons are now upon us, and dancers are asking, no Halloween party, no Thanksgiving potluck, no Christmas celebrations. These are events that Mr. Ray always organized, decorated, and made fun for us. Now we get 2 tower speakers playing music for 2 hours. It's very heartbreaking, and we miss our dance family there. Only one way to fix this is to bring Jim Ray back under the umbrella of the Recreation Center. I asked again, are the voices of the people, taxpayers and voters, being heard, or is it just people versus power as usual? Just a fun fact, Clovis seniors are a highly influential group in local elections due to high voter turnout. You're smiling, I like it. I know you're listening. Sorry. The deck's stacked against us. We are broken. There will be a winner and a loser through this process. And if the seniors lose, we all lose. There is no winner. Is anyone listening? Are there any words I can say to get your attention? Honor, hope, do the right thing, stand up for us. Tell me what the words are, and I'll say them. In the blink of an eye, we are going to be gone. And there are other people in this room that will walk in our shoes. And I hope when you get there, you will remember this, and I hope you will say, now I understand what we are talking about and asking for is very, very small and minute in the general grand scheme of life. This should never have come this far. I'll say it again, seniors are living the last season of our lives. All we have left to do is to die. That's all we have. And we would like to spend that time doing what we love, with who we love, the dancers and the family that we love. Jesus' last charge to us was to love one another and forgiveness. I hope everyone does the right thing by the seniors and not fail us as human beings. Please bring Mr. Ray back to work so we can put this to rest. It's been going on too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foster.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to ask again politely if we not give applause after everyone so that way we can just move forward. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to talk about seniors too,
Yep.
from the other side, because I'm one of those instructors. My
Yes,
name's-
you can line up. It's just courtesy, so that way, yeah. So it's not that we're not against it or for it, just allow the speaker to speak so that way the council, yeah. And you can address us on that, on the podium, sir, yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so my name is Don Coles. I'm from Auberry, California. I worked at the Senior Center as a yoga, movement, and fitness instructor for 5 years. Now, when Bethany took over at the Senior Center, her Happy team informed me that she wanted me to select participants in my classes that could teach the classes in my absence. Now, this is a legal, ethical, and liability issue that would create a major safety issue for the participants if someone unqualified and uncertified were to instruct the seniors. Tried to explain the situation to Bethany, and she became highly offended and started arguing with me. I didn't know at the time that bringing up a safety issue would make her target me and begin a 9-month campaign of harassment and abuse as she tried to fire me or force me to quit. Now, there are coworker reports that she was looking for dirt on me and asking them if they think she could fire me. I've had classes randomly canceled, so when I showed up, no one would be there. I've had the maximum participant number increased on my classes, so when I arrive, there's so many people I can't teach the class. I even had 2 unruly ladies show up in my classroom during our meditation, talking so loudly and making a scene that it prevented the participants from meditating. When I asked them to please talk quietly or go in the hallway to continue their discussion, they began to yell and threaten me, saying they were given the right to do whatever they wanted in the center and they would get me fired for interfering with that. They were so out of control, a class participant had to come hold them back so I could get out the door and get office staff to help remove them. When I tried to file a workplace violence report with Bethany, she told me they were her special VIPs and had the right to do whatever they wanted, and I was in the wrong, and she called me a liar for my claims. When I told her I had 25 witnesses that wanted to issue a statement, she told me she would not accept them because these people have alliances with me and would just lie anyways. She then stated she was forbidding me to speak to them or anyone else about the incident or else, inferring that I'd be fired. She even tried to tell me I was forbidden to speak to my wife about this. Now, I've written up a written statement detailing every one of these incidents for you. I can leave that with you and the treatment I've suffered under her. For 9 months, I've been so stressed I can't sleep. I wake up at night with bouts of anxiety. My health has declined and my relationship has suffered. I'm not the only one that has suffered from her hostility and rage. Jim Ray, Moni Randolph, and just recently another employee that was forced to quit because of the constant berating and abuse, as well as the countless people that have cried right here in your chambers begging you to listen to this problem and help. Now, Steve Frankian has been forced to move his office out of the building to escape this hostile environment. Amy simply stonewalls any complaints and refuses to stop that abuse. You've allowed a monster to seize control of the senior center and use that power to torment and abuse employees as well as participants at the center. For months, you've completely ignored the real problem and let this group of women continue to abuse innocent people. At this point, to me, it looks like, the refusal to acknowledge this has made the city culpable in that behavior as well. I don't really know what to do about this. This situation has gotten so out of hand. I can't even stand to be in the office over there because of the hostility in that office is so overwhelming. So I'm just begging you to start listening to all these seniors, all these people that are coming here, the same problem. And it's the hostility from the new management at the senior center, which is causing all of this. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Coles.
I do have,
Go ahead.
I'm Diane Suderman, and I also from the Senior Center as a student. My best childhood friend Judy and I grew up in a culture that did not allow dancing. Though my ideas about dancing were changing while we attended college, dancing was not allowed where we attended. As I got busy as a wife and mother and teacher in my adult life, learning to dance was not a priority. But in recent times, my friend Judy invited me to learn to line dance at the Clovis Senior Center. Though in our 70s by now, I was still busy and felt my life was plentiful as it was. But to honor Judy, who had lost her husband, I finally said, yes, I'd go one time. It was free. But it only took that one time. I've scarcely missed a week since then, over 2 years ago. Jim Ray is a big reason I enjoy dancing. He creates an atmosphere of acceptance and fun while we work hard to learn the steps. Not only has dancing provided good exercise for me, Jim has become a friend, as have the many people I've met in these 2+ years. Just over 1 year ago, I saw Jim dance a couples dance. He is such an elegant and professional dancer, and that inspired me to sign up for his beginning couples class. Thanks to the classes Jim has offered and to my dance partner, Julius, I have made progress at doing something I never dreamed I could do in this lifetime. And though my dance partner and I are still beginners, we were just starting to sometimes attend Jim's Friday night dances. It's so unfair to be deprived of this privilege just when I'm finally learning to dance. I cannot tell you enough how the loss of Jim Ray as our instructor at the community center, the loss of him hosting the Friday night dances at the community center, and the loss of our beautiful dance floor at the community center have impacted my life and the lives of many others. And I just want to add that knowing him for these 2 years, he would not have quit or resigned if there had not been a really, really obvious reason to do so. And I don't know what that entirely was. I wasn't there. But I know he loved teaching, he loved the students, and he loved that community center. And he would not have given it up if he wasn't impacted and pushed by something going on in the office.
Thank you, Diane.
Hello. Hello. Can I start? Okay. Hello. I'm Tara Wink. I live over off of Barstow. Sorry, I always get those two confused. And I want to speak up about the sign. I know it's not a priority. However, I felt a lot of the discussion around it kind of was a priority. I'm not necessarily for it or against it. I think the dialogue still needs to be there, as a lot of you guys were saying. But as it was proposed, and I don't mean to upset anybody, but it was proposed, a question was proposed of if it's not God's law who's codified, then whose law? A king? And that does feel very un-American, in my opinion, because is that not what we fled from in England? And so it very much, even though there was 3 people who said that they wanted to ask the community and stuff, it very much, when the person who proposed the sign would come back in a week later and say that a council member just saying that no, they don't necessarily want to have the conversation because they didn't want it to be divisive. I'm not going to sit here and speak for Lynn, but when you propose something, is that not a possibility of having something denied? But to come in here and kind of say, well, either, and this was spoken both weeks, either you need to get with Christian Bible or you need to get on with it. It seems like regardless of whether or not we want to extend that conversation out to other people, it seems like it very much stops and ends with Christianity. And as much as I do agree with "In God We Trust," especially when some of that rhetoric was brought up in a public comment where it was, I want to make a call to arms because they're so upset about things, that doesn't feel like we're trusting in God. That feels like the exact opposite. And I understand that is just one opinion surrounding the sign, but when that's the person proposing it, it very much feels like a large conversation. And this isn't me trying to sit here and tell you, Bill Scott, not to talk. I appreciate the conversation around it. I was talking to 2 other people about having a conversation afterwards and hearing what the sign meant to them, but I would just be foolish not to use my voice and say that that doesn't speak for all Clovis. Thank you.
Thank you. And please pay attention, we will be bringing that back up, and the city manager is working on some forums and reaching out to different organizations to get feedback, so that way they can provide a full agenda item for this council to consider. Thank you. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. My name is Hans Kam, and I live at 1085 Reddington Avenue in Clovis. Unlike last month, I'm not here tonight asking for pickleball courts. Tonight, I'm here along with my wife and my friends to speak in support of the dancers at the Clovis Community Center and the request to bring back Jim Ray as their beloved teacher. Before getting hooked on pickleball, my wife and I used to dance competitively. So dancing is not just an activity for us, it defines our lives. It gives us identities and, more importantly, a real sense of belonging to a community. So we would only experience that because of our dedicated teachers. To some administrators, a dance teacher may be just another name on an employment roster, but to us, dancers and ex-dancers, they are mentors, they are our mentors, they are our role models, they are the heartbeat of our community. So we owe our teachers a lifetime of gratitude for helping shape our lives, both figuratively and literally. I also want to commend the Clovis Community Center management for their work in making the dance floor safe again for dancing. And tonight, I want to challenge the city of Clovis to find a way to keep the traditional country western dance alive through the teachings of Jim Ray at the Clovis Community Center. Please do it for our brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, and friends who call that dance floor home. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans.
Hi, my name's Catherine Latona. I live in Clovis. I found the senior center probably about a year and a half ago. It's a little trepidatious walking in for the first time. And I walked in, went to go line dancing. Walked in, it was like, oh my God, these are my people. They welcomed me. I was introduced to Jim Ray, and I had taken line dancing through Clovis Adult in the past and out of town also. Every single one, both those places said, look up Jim Ray for a tutorial so you could practice at home. So when I said, Jim Ray's teaching this? You gotta be kidding me. The famous Jim Ray, I mean, everybody knows him. He was in the competitive professional circuit forever. So I felt pretty fortunate. Soon they became my friends. I felt like family. We did potlucks, just fabulous. And I'm not just talking about one class a day. This guy teaches multiple because he loves us. So you already know about the hoopla, the pickleball, the floor, blah, 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 blah. I won't go all into that. Fix it. Why you do pickleball there is beside me. When we have a rec center, I don't know. It seems to me also, back then, a year and a half ago, there was a vibe of happiness and welcoming there. It's not like that so much anymore. And it's not just this issue, it's an in general thing, because now I take Zumba and I do dance exercise, 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. I've gotten a lot healthier. I have dropped a significant amount of weight, and I feel like the senior center has saved my life. Sounds corny, but it's true. And I think a lot of us feel that way. So about 2 months ago, we had a very consistently inconsistent dance instructor during that one of the morning classes that wouldn't show up, wouldn't call. Then she was going to take a month off or something. And I said to our Zumba lady, who's so popular that her classes are maxed out. So I said, would you be okay with, would you take on that slot so we can mention it to management? So it took a lot of finessing. We roped her into it. She changed her whole schedule. So now we are consistent, because us old ladies, old men, all of us, we want consistency. And our doctors are all telling us to be active and get out of the house. So everything's peachy. There's still a weird vibe there, trust me. So all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, we hear, oh, they're gonna change one of the dance classes at 10 o'clock. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Everybody's all like, whoa, wait a minute. We scheduled doctor's appointments and everything around these classes that we love going to. So I just thought, well, I should ask, because no one really knew. I was referred to a lady named Ashley, and I asked her, and she said, well, we're bringing Shay back, which is the inconsistent employee that left us high and dry constantly. I'm like, you're bringing her back? Okay, I thought, don't say too much more, but what I was thinking. And she said, and we're trying to accommodate her. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Accommodating the customers, meaning us, the seniors at the senior center, or are we accommodating someone who is flaky? I mean, I'm a little confused. So I said, as we get older, we want consistency. So what are you gonna do? And as I'm talking to her, she kept looking at her watch. I felt this small and less important because of this. And I thought, that's not cool. But, I mean, what am I gonna do? So, all right, so this girl is gonna teach her first class last Thursday. I could have wrote the book. She doesn't show up, so we ask. Oh, well, she didn't call. All right, so today there was a class. I called beforehand to see if the class was going to indeed be a class. Oh, yes, drive all the way to the rec center, 35 ladies standing out in the parking lot. I'm like, really, isn't that nice? So I'm thinking to myself, who is managing this place that you're bringing back an employee that is inconsistent again? You won't bring back Jim Ray, who is the very essence of joy and consistency, and
Catherine,
be
can
loved.
I ask you to
Yeah.
summarize?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but there's something amiss with management, something amiss. And also, I did talk to the other lady, Amy, once. Same thing, it's like, didn't want to even hear me. So I think we got a real problem. There's half the people there and the financials. He must have brought in, I mean, I don't know, and then the Zumba class. So we're missing out on all these, which means money. So as is the customer, I think we should be heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine.
My name is Beverly Trenhale. So far, the City Council has done nothing to help us. It appears that you are here to defend management. So where do we go from here? I guess we'll have a protest on Clovis Avenue and 3rd Street and in front of the Clovis Senior Activity Center with as many dancers and concerned citizens as we can round up. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly.
Hi, my name is Elena Giroux. I live at 1275 Chenault Avenue, Clovis. I moved up here in 1992, and someone said you should start line dancing, so I did. And after a while, I became Jim's assistant, and I did retire. Can you tell? Anyway, he is the most kind person I've ever met. I've never heard him raise his voice to anybody. He just treats everybody so kindly and so patient. He wants everybody to learn how to dance. He thinks I'm his mom. Anyway, I just wanted to say what a good teacher he is, and he doesn't deserve to be treated the way he was treated. And then one of the line dancers came to me and she said, I've been talking to Bethany, and Bethany's been telling me all about what's been going on. And I asked her who Jim had the meeting with, and she said, I don't know who he had the meeting with. Well, it was with her, and she denied it. So this line dancer isn't here tonight. She had to go out of town, but I'm just telling that story for her.
Thank you, Elena.
Here I am again. My name is Shirley Chokis. I live at 2528 Adler Avenue in Clovis, California. I'm commonly known as the bread lady. Take bread and sweets and whatever, fruit, everything to the senior center, but I mainly for our church pantry, People's Church. But the excess, we find homes for it rather than something being thrown away. I'm appalled at a lot of the stuff that I heard tonight because I never knew it until I heard it tonight. But I'm here this time to say that I asked if I could ask you questions tonight because I've seen nothing. I see nothing. And I don't want to get upset with myself as well. But I was told you can't answer. And okay, I'm going to respect that. But I would hope and pray that something would change to where you guys do respond to somebody. Okay, I am a person that heard some of the not so kind things that people said to Jim, and this was before we moved across the street. Get more people or you're gonna have to cancel this class. You gotta have more people than this here. You can't do this with, I'm a pre-beginner person. My friend got me started on it, and I never knew it could be so much fun. I got my first pair of boots. Now, you know I have to be serious about that, but a friend bought them for me because I saw other people dancing with them, and it looked like so much fun to be dressed like that. And I did that for the first time last week. I don't normally dress like that. So I want to tell you, thank you for listening to all our situations, but really, do respect us enough. I mean, I'm up there. When that lady read that thing about seniors, it's like, goodness sakes, I'm past that stage. But, you know, I so enjoy myself, and I'm getting movement. And just sitting around at home thinking is not healthy. Please don't just sit here at a meeting and ignore us. Please, please. Do something about that situation over there. It's far more serious than you think it might be. It might be. That's all I do. If I could turn my card back in and ask for the money, I would do that. I know people have done that. And they gave them back their money. I know that because I know people that volunteer. I know people that work over there. And so it's the things that I know, I felt like I could stand up here and talk to you about. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you,
I
Shirley.
had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Scott and Andy, I mean, there's a lot more stuff that's going on that we're not allowed to talk about. So it's kind of tough to sit here and hear things and not be able to respond to anything when we want to respond to things. So I understand exactly where all of you are coming from your frustration of standpoints, but it's also frustrating for me as well, because I can't respond or say things that I might know that are going on behind the scenes. So is there anything we can tell the audience here tonight about what we're doing, not doing, where we stand in the process of anything that has to do with the senior center?
And before Scott or city manager respond, I think I was going to ask you to give that answer, exactly what Councilmember Basco was asking, after we hear everyone, so that way it doesn't keep going being a back and forth. Is that okay, Councilmember Basco?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just think that, I know that the statements are going to be pretty consistent
Yeah.
with what everybody is saying and what they have been saying. And I think for us, it's just, for me especially, it's frustrating to sit here and not be able to respond to people who are passionate. Because I know there's also other sides to the story as it deals with staff as well on things that they've encountered. So that's where I'm at with it.
I think we share the
otherwise we're
same-
just gonna go week after week after week, not being able to tell anybody anything, and it's just, and they're gonna come back week after week because they're passionate about
Yep.
everything
We'll be
that has
back
to do with the
every
senior
single
process.
meeting. Trust us. We'll be here. Yeah.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
So, yes,
Thank you,
whatever
Commissioner.
you
Yep. We'll do that. Thank you, Councilmember Basco.
Hello, my name's Janine Brown. I live at 1001 Silmar in Clovis. I am a resident of Clovis, as is my husband, and a member of the Clovis Senior Center. I have been a student of Jim Ray's for 3 years. Jim's classes are important to me for several reasons. Due to Jim's personality and ability to excel as an instructor, making dance fun, friendly, and achievable, I quickly realized that the classes are more than a place to learn. They are a community in every sense of the word. After driving from Reedley 2 to 3 times a week for Jim's classes, my husband and I decided to move to Clovis 1 year ago. And yes, these classes were one of the motivating factors. In the past year, I've experienced health issues, the death of my daughter, and most recently, health issues of my husband. As we age, we become increasingly aware of how important our friends and community are. These are the people that carried me through. The community would not be what it is without the leadership of Jim Ray, who supports, motivates, and keeps us wanting to be active in learning. Although there is no doubt we will follow Jim wherever he continues teaching, we really love coming together to the Senior Center where we have commonality, a safe space, and a beautiful facility. Clovis should be proud of having long-term employees indicative of a healthy workplace and mutual respect. They should be proud of having vibrant seniors willing to stand up and speak for what they are passionate about. Clovis residents should ensure that the Clovis way of life keeps pace with changes in our city, but not at the expense of losing the very things that make us unique. Individuals who put their city and people first and dedicate themselves for over 40 years to their service. We miss our community and Jim. We are a family because we say we are. Can we please have our teacher and community back?
Thank you, Janine.
Hello, my name is Mary Bracci. I live in Clovis at 2877 Browning Avenue. I've spoken twice before. I had surgery today, but I'm here anyway because I want to say a few more words about Jim. First of all, when my husband was alive, he was in sales, and he always said to me, Mary, always listen to your customers. Give them what they need, give them what they want. I think this is a good example of us asking for what we need and what we want. Secondly, by coincidence, I've spoken to a number of instructors, employees, and volunteers at the center. Without question, they're miserable. I have an HR background, so I listened and I talked to them. And they have said that things are not the same as they were. I'm going to go there and just suggest that there may be a little bit of a hostile work environment going on. Okay, I have experience with this. I've seen it. I've listened to some of the people who teach, work, and volunteer. There's some issues going on, and I'm going to ask you please to pay attention. You heard a very good example of a hostile work environment situation tonight. It's going on. And third, in business, turnover is expensive. And so you want to hire and keep, retain, train, and offer the most qualified candidate. Jim Ray is the most qualified candidate for this job within 100 miles of here. Give him the opportunity to come back and to be our teacher. We want him desperately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Good evening. My name is Diane McCallum, 1782 Cromwell Avenue, Clovis. I think most of what I was going to say, Janine got it, but I was thinking, I think I want to invite you to one of Jim's classes, and maybe someone already has, but as a former banking, human resources, and teacher for the last 16 years, I do have experience with people, and Jim is a great teacher. He's never put anybody down. He'll never make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. I think I met Jim in 2017, highly encouraged me. When my husband passed away, the whole dance team showed up at the Rosary, was very supportive. So like what they're saying, it's not just a class, it's a community. But I would hope that you would come and see what kind of person he is, because he is a fantastic person, not just teacher, but person. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Diane.
My name's Chuck Swanson. I'm at 7272 East Alluvial. And I'd just like to ask the people who are here to support Jim to identify themselves, maybe stand up or raise your hand so we know how many people here are supporting Jim. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Hi. Debbie Graber, 417 West Twain, Clovis. So a lot has changed, or a lot has happened in the past 3 weeks, as you can all see. I just want to say that this is obviously a management issue. I've had members, volunteers, and staff confide in me, and one who recently resigned. And I do want to make a little shout out to the community because we've got my gym and the American Legion, and then 2 fellow line dance instructors, Mike Conklin and Christine Rogers, who have reached out and helped us put on little classes for a small portion of the seniors. But the majority of them can't make it to the classes. The rooms are too small and the distance. So anyhow, and these are great things to have, and Jim is very happy with that. But they aren't permanent solutions. Jim is a senior. He's a Clovis resident. He's a Vietnam vet who was not ready to retire. And on September 2nd, Mayor, you made a comment. You said, our citizens should never be dissuaded from approaching us. We want that. We serve the people. I want to remind you how this all started. It started with Jim Ray reporting a safety issue to management a month prior to his departure. This issue was not taken seriously, and instead of fixing the problem, he was ridiculed, mocked, and laughed at. Jim was called a liar, and he was threatened about going to city council. On September 16th, Mayor, you said, do not think you're not being heard, and do not think that we are not following up with staff. Staff is the problem. Management is the problem. Staff interviewed staff. So it was basically like the abused were being interviewed by their abusers. It didn't make sense the way they handled that. And real quick, I have to mention the floor one more time because they took one more step, and I think this is the problem. They're making these rash decisions, trying to get all these things going on at the center. The floor was recently waxed. It's a laminate floor. You don't wax a laminate floor. I gave you guys some information on flooring. This floor was installed 30 years ago. It's only been cleaned with water and sometimes vinegar. I talked to the custodian that has been servicing it all this time, and he said, you do not wax a laminate floor. So now you're gonna have to maintain that floor probably every year, re-wax it, because it's gonna start coming up and it's ruining the finish of the floor. So I'm gonna leave you with one last thing, and that's YouTube. The great thing about YouTube, and I gave you a spreadsheet because I know you guys probably like spreadsheets. So with YouTube, you can see how many views you have on all of your city council meetings, all right? So I did a little spreadsheet for you. And I wanna let you know the most viewed topics in the past 5 years, okay? So since 2020, your number 1 was the halfway house on Locan and Ashland. I'm sure you all remember that. It had some individuals living there that people weren't too happy about, and I think they moved out pretty quickly. I remember that. The second biggest issue was the LGBTQ books in schools. That issue actually went to the state level. The third, and those were both in 2023. The third was this year, and that was the conversations around making Clovis a non-sanctuary city. And I think that was dropped pretty quickly. Didn't really hear anything about it. It was just decided against it. The fourth are the past 3 meetings about the senior center in the past 5 years. This has been the 4th major topic for the city of Clovis. I think that says something. I know it says something. So I'm asking you, can we please get on the agenda? Can we please get some answers? I think this is an important issue. It's about the seniors. It's about the community. It's about Clovis, the city that we all love. We do. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Hello, my name is Steve Trevino. I live on Boulder Avenue. And before some of you dancers leave, let me leave something with you guys. Every week, Mondays, we have a meeting in here. I've been in here before. There's nobody here. And you should not be waiting until you have a problem to come in here. You can come here on Mondays. You can look it up online. You can also watch it on YouTube. And if you can't make it to a meeting, you can always write a letter to City Council. Don't wait for stuff like this to happen. Next year, we're gonna have an election again. You're not happy? You can run for City Council, okay? You get involved. Get involved. If you have a problem, call the City Council. Don't wait for bad things to happen. Don't wait. I've told the city council about a long time ago when there was an oak tree, they tore that thing down, but it was my fault. I didn't come in here to say, hey, don't cut that oak tree down, you know? Second, if I have a minute, I think a lot of this is the fault of the city for not planning ahead of time. I wrote a letter to the Fresno Bee several years ago about where they built a Centennial Center. I wanted a community center there. I wrote a letter to Fresno Bee, and that's I had an uncle who was a musician, and I used to go with him all over the valley, and just about every town or city has a community center, or several. Sanger has a major community center where they have dances, and I don't know what else they do. When I was a kid, I used to go to the Veterans Memorial Building, and we used to play basketball in there. They stopped that. I have 6 sisters, and some of them had weddings here in Clovis. They had a wedding at the Veterans Memorial Building and the Twin Gables. Just a few weeks ago, the gentleman from the city planning department, he says that we might even go all the way to Auberry. Well, I hope they have these kind of things planned. For example, I drove by the Michael McDonald Park. That is a gigantic park. Why can't we have a community center there? You know, so I haven't been to the other parks. I've been and I'm sure if the city manager and administration, they think about these things, they need to plan these things. You know, I've been to other towns like Reedley, just a little town. They have an airstrip. Other towns have airstrips. Even Selma has one. How come City of Clovis doesn't have an airstrip? I understand they're going to build a golf course here, maybe. You know, we should have had a golf course here years ago. You know, as we're growing, but the city council, the city planners, they have other plans, I guess. But that's what I would. That's my opinion. So, anyways.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. I'd like to thank the city staff for the sign at David McDonald Park. It's wonderful. Really looks good out there. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close that. But before we move on, I do want to know for the record that we have 4 email letters on the Senior Center and 12 on the agenda item for Prop 50. Okay, just wanted to state that. You know, with regards to what Councilmember Basco said is sort of sometimes our frustration. Public comment, and I'll have the attorney and city manager expound on it. When you come to public comment, because it is not agendized, the law forbids us to discuss it because it's something that we cannot discuss. So that's just the way the state of California's law dictates what we can do during public comment. This evening, we finally have a request, and I think I responded to a couple of you when you've written an email that you can ask the council to put it on the agenda, and then we can discuss it openly. But even with that, with regards to our specific issue here, if we agendize something that involves like a personnel issue, I just want the city manager and our city attorney to sort of tell you what we can and cannot say, because there are employees that we also have to protect, and we have to follow the law, so that way we are not putting the city in jeopardy of violating the rights of all individuals involved. So, Andy, and like I said at the first meeting, I guarantee you that, I would even say for Lynn, all of us, we are on top of this. We are asking our city manager constantly on updates, what's going on, and they have been reporting to us, but it is a confidential situation in a lot of the situation that's going on. So that's why it seems like, okay, you're speaking to 5 folks who are just nodding our heads and then moving on. But the city manager has been diligently working on this with our staff over at the senior center, and with personnel, and along with our council here. So, Andy, Scott, can you just help so that way the public understands sort of where we're at and what we're doing?
First, I just want to say I have heard you. I've read every letter, every comment that's come in, every verbal comment has been written down by me, processed by me, thought through by me, and questioned by me. So that process is ongoing. It is a process. We have to go through various steps to meet our policies, state law, relative to any kind of HR issues, make sure everyone, as the mayor said, is protected. But we have heard you. The answer to this is not going to be quick. Those things take time. So if we come back with the council item, at that point, it would just be on the current offerings of the senior center and its current status. We would not be able to discuss HR-related issues to protect those that are involved on both sides of that equation. So that is where we would be at if council directed us to come back with an item at some point in the future to provide an update on the senior center as a whole.
And Scott, did you have anything to add to that as well?
I think Mayor and Andy, you both addressed kind of succinctly what the requirement is. I think it's important to remind the council and the public in attendance tonight, the Brown Act is the California law that governs this meeting, any public meeting. And there's certain requirements that have to be followed, otherwise we risk violating the Brown Act, which none of us want to happen. One of the requirements of the Brown Act is that the council cannot prohibit public criticism. We're hearing a lot of criticism, that's fair. And I'll read from the section in the Brown Act. The legislative body may not prohibit the public from criticizing the policies, procedures, programs, or services of the agency, or the acts or missions of the legislative body. So we hear criticisms of programs, senior programs. We hear criticism of the services being offered at the senior center. I think, the council is hearing that. Obviously, administration is hearing that. Another important thing to remember is, even though there may be some criticism of employees, as uncomfortable as that may be, and as we may prefer not to hear specific employee names, we'd rather, frankly, hear that perhaps reported to the city manager's office. It is fair game in a public setting. I would remind everyone, though, however, that there's not laws that protect, disparaging remarks that may be untruthful. I'm not saying anyone's untruthful, but I'm just saying in the context of the Brown Act, we're allowed to hear that public criticism. Another important note is, as the council knows and the public may be aware, this is a council manager form of government. So the city council is a part-time city council. The city council itself, the 5 members up here, do not run the day-to-day operations of the city. That's up to the city manager to do. And so the council can't direct or make individual hiring decisions or disciplinary decisions of employees at the city. That's not their role. Their role is to set policy, not to make individual decisions on whether to hire an employee or fire an employee or take disciplinary action against an employee. So although we hear your complaints, the council is not the one that's ultimately going to be making those decisions. It's city administration, the city HR department. And I can assure you that actions are underway, efforts are underway to address the concerns that have been raised at the last several council meetings. We can't go into details, however. We cannot disclose confidential personnel matters. We cannot discuss the status of employees, potential discipline of employees. I'm seeing a lot of head nodding out there. I think everybody would understand that. We're certainly not going to comment in a public setting about an individual employee or what may or may not be happening, or the status of an investigation that the city may be undertaking. We're just not going to address that in a public setting, whether it's on the agenda or not. And I think finally, as the mayor has stated previously, a reminder for the public, and many of you come to meetings, I think you see how it operates. The public comment session at the beginning of the meeting, which is what we've just finished, allows the public to engage the council on any topic within the council's jurisdiction that may be of interest to you. Whether that's placing a stop sign at a corner, addressing a senior center issue, addressing any other topic that may be of interest to you individually and may be of interest to several of you in the audience. But the Brown Act doesn't allow the council to take any action on that item that evening because it's not on the agenda. And there may be other people in the community that might have been interested in that item. We're not going to take a request for putting a stop sign at an intersection, and then the council is going to immediately order that evening. Because there's going to be study sessions, there's going to be input involved from other members of the community, because nobody would know that that item was going to be discussed that evening because it's not on the agenda. We're limited to taking action and going into heavy discussion on items that are only on the agenda. That's so the council has notice and the public has notice of what it is that's going to be discussed at the meeting. Items that are brought up during the public comment, that's why the council can't go into heavy dialogue on that. We're not taking action on that item. We want to make sure that we properly agendize it if that's the decision of the council. So I'm not sure if there's anything else that I need to address, but again, if there's a desire by the city council to place this as an item on the agenda, again, I would say we're not going to go into details on personnel matters. We're not going to discuss the hiring decisions. We're not going to discuss what potential investigation or disciplinary action may be taking or not taken. So the topic of discussion, I think, at such an agendized item would be, what are the programs that are being offered? What are the services being offered? Are the seniors satisfied with those programs, services, classes, whatever it might be, the instructors, that sort of thing. So.
Okay. And so, Councilmember Basco. These are going straight to the city manager. Yeah, so all your letters, public comment, like Andy said, he's received all of them. He's taken it very seriously. We are on top of it in that we're seeing where it is and what the progress report is. Councilman Basco, did you have something to add as well?
No,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that, I appreciate you putting that out there, Scott, because I think it's good for everybody to hear that, you know, because it is hard to sit here and go, okay, we're just sitting here nodding our heads at you. And the reality is we're hearing everything you say, but we're stuck in a position I can't do anything about it. And, and because of laws and Brown Acts, and I've heard, people talk about Jim Ray 100 times, but I can't say anything about Jim Ray. I can't talk about his employment status. I can't talk about why he doesn't work there anymore or anything else to that matter. So that's what makes it more difficult. So, I mean, even to agendize it, I still can't talk about Jim Ray. Yeah. I can't ask Jim Ray questions. I can't ask him, why he doesn't work there anymore or any of those things. But I have to rely on the city manager's office, and he has heard from all of us to say, what are we doing? Can we fix this? Can we make this work? And it's going to be up to those folks to communicate with each other and come to a resolution and figure this out. And if they're not communicating with each other, then this is never going to get solved. So I hope that at some point, Mr. Ray, you have a conversation with Andy. Andy, you have a conversation with Mr. Ray, or something like that occurs, and at least try and figure out wherever it is we go from here. So nothing may change. There may be rules and laws in place that say we can't do a damn thing. But I would just like for us to at least communicate on that level, figure it out, and see where we can go from there. That's all I got.
Thank you, Matt. And I wanted to say to the public, I encourage you to reach whoever you are comfortable with the five of us, because you can't meet with us individually. And so please call us, meet with us, email us. And so I think it was Debbie, thank you for putting the request to see if, at least if three of us want to put this on the agenda, but like our city manager and council said, we can only talk about the programs, how it's going, so we can't talk about a lot of the concerns that you have at all. And if that's something which the city council or the rest of the members here would like to put on, we can agendize it and get a report on what's going on currently, what we have at the city senior center. So. Okay, with that, thank you very much for being here this evening. We're going to move now to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are routine in nature and are recommended for approval by the City Council. These items will be considered and voted on as a single item unless a council member requests separate consideration of any item. Does anyone on the City Council like to pull items 2 through 10, any of them? Okay, seeing none. Anyone in the public like to address any items 2 through 10 on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, we'll be back to the council, see what's the pleasure of the council.
I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar items 2 through 10.
Second. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent calendar items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is item 11. We will have a workshop presentation on cybersecurity awareness, and staff on this is our IT Deputy Director, Jesse Veliz. And you can introduce the other staff.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Yes, I'd like to introduce our two IT supervisors, Patrick Linares and Brett Garvin. Without these two guys, none of this would be possible, honestly. So they're very much integral to what we do and how we operate. And so anyway, I want to kind of, yes, we wanted to touch base on cybersecurity and do a little quick workshop on Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Please know that along with it being Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Breast Cancer Survivor Awareness Month, it's also Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October. So it's a pretty big month, I think. So why do we want to talk about cybersecurity and why is it important? I think that's really the nuts and bolts of this, right? We want to talk about why it's needed. We'll go into a little bit of the current threats and vulnerabilities that are out there, some of the things compliance-wise and some of the controls that we have to put in place legally as well. We're going to touch on some of that. And then we'll turn around and say, you know, these are all things that are needed, and these are the things that we're going to do to try to defend ourselves in the current environment which we're operating in. So again, why is cybersecurity necessary? Every single department here in the city uses technology for much of their operations. There's a need to protect our critical infrastructure. Local government is under attack, and of course, as I mentioned before, the data protection requirements. As you can see on the bottom there are examples just of other cities and counties, and every other day we're getting reports of somebody who was hit by ransomware or some sort of other attack. It's just par for the course now, as they say. So current threats and vulnerabilities. So I look at threats as, you know, the people or things that are trying to hurt us, right? And vulnerabilities are soft spots. There are the weak link in the chain. So the biggest threat right now that is publicized is really ransomware. The phishing is where most of that comes from. 90% of our threats and the attack mechanism is through phishing. And that is not just email, even though email is a significant portion of that, but there's voice phishing now through phone calls, there's text messages that are phishing examples, even that QR code at a restaurant. If you just find a piece of paper and do a QR code, you don't know where that link is taking you and what it's asking to provide in terms of the information that it's asking for. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that as well. There's insider threats, there's social engineering, there's a bunch of different threats out there. Vulnerabilities, as I mentioned, are the weak link in the chain. We have end-of-life equipment that, for a number of reasons, we can't get upgraded to the latest and greatest, and it's unpatchable. Those are the things where a hacker would be looking for first, to the weak spots in our systems.
Hey, Jesse, back to that slide. So do you have sort of how many actually get through? Because this is the last 30, or none of them got through to our systems or through any of the staff?
So that actual little image there is the email that we scanned and categorized. And as you can see, of all of the email that our systems have recognized as spam or some sort of junk email, 70% is that. So did some of them get through? Yes, and they've been blocked by either other mechanisms that we'll go into in terms of our defenses later, whether it be antivirus or some of the other tools that we've done. It's not everything is going to be nefarious either. Also, is the one way to look at it. I mean, some of it is just junk, and but not all of them are malicious in terms of a virus or something like that.
So, but the 47,000, those are potential threats, I'm
Correct.
assuming, since you
And
labeled it
and those
malicious.
were blocked. And those were blocked.
Oh, those were blocked?
Yes.
So of that category, none got
Correct.
through where in effect, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's those unknown ones, the 0 day, as they call them, that may have, that still have the potential to get in. That's not something that, we get some computers that we have to go and physically, pull from the plug and do a cleanup job on those kinds of things, yes. But nothing to the point where anything's been exfiltrated, at least not to our knowledge.
Thank you.
So, a couple other things that I wanted to point out in terms of what keeps me up at night, at least. Artificial intelligence, and these hackers are using it, right? They've built some really incredible sophistication into their programs and their programmings. I have on the bottom there ransomware as a service. This is a business. This is a hacker can go in on the dark web or wherever they're getting this stuff and putting ransomware in their cart and paying whatever little nominal fee that they could do it. And now they don't even have to be programmers or anything. It's just you buy it off the web in a sense. It's kind of scary. And then it's no longer a billion-dollar business. This has now moved into a trillion-dollar operation. And it is a business. And I'll go back one slide here. If you look at the way the 30-day graphs show, email is cyclical, and it's the weekends that they have off, and that's when all the traffic goes down. I mean, if you really think about it, it's business. So, in terms of being one click away, we also do our own kind of spam test on people as well. We don't advertise it very much, but for a while there, we were under the industry standards, but that's actually grown a little bit, where we've had maybe 7 or 8% of our staff click on that link or open that email or what have you. And industry standard is about 6 or 7%. So we're slightly above that number. And then, of course, there's other reasons on why it's important to do cybersecurity and the data protection standards. There's citywide, we need to comply with the framework from NIST, the National Institute of Technology, the cybersecurity framework. We have insurance requirements that are needed. Each department, whether it be the police department, needing to comply with CGIS and CLETS, and I'm sorry I'm using the acronyms, but just trying to move through as fast as I can to make sure I don't get too stuck in the weeds here. Yes, sir.
Back one screen again.
Yeah.
I had a question. You put in here, people are using AI to do malicious stuff. Is there AI to do good stuff to protect as well? And are we investing in that, or we're not there yet?
Yes, we are actually. And I was hoping to kind of cover some of that in the next couple of slides in terms of what we're doing and how we're using it as well. Or we'll be using it shortly. So we have the data protection standards and, whether it's personally identifiable information protection, the, payment card industry standards and others. So how do we defend ourselves? And now we're going to kind of transition to that. But individually, I want to go back to the 4 easy ways. Being Cybersecurity Awareness Month, they call these the Core 4. And the best things that individuals can do is use strong passwords. We want to turn on our multi-factor authentication, so it's not only a password, but even that text message that you get to verify your authentication is part of the program, like you do with your bank. Update your software on all your devices and your phones, and make sure your computers are up to date and protected through antivirus and what have you. And last and not least, if you're unsure, if you get somebody else, report it to either the IT division or have somebody else look at it, but don't fall for the urgency that these attackers are trying to put on these emails. So if you get an email and you're just unsure of what it is or why you received it, they try to create that environment of, you need to do this right away and act now, and you're going to miss your shipping confirmation or whatever the thing is. There's a sense of urgency that they're trying to create, but just take a moment to stop, and if you need, ask or report it. From the city's perspective, we're going to rely heavily on kind of the best practices to security. We're going to continue to be relentless in patching and updating systems as best we can. We're going to try to educate and train our end users to be able to identify those threats more clearly, to be those phishing attempts, and that's why we do all those tests. We're going to really prioritize backing up our critical data. I mean, if at the end of the day, if the data is not, the backups aren't good, what good are they? That's kind of our approach on that, in that sense. And then we're also going to continue to build our multi-layered approach or strategy, and that's I call them the 3 R's: resiliency, redundancy, and reliability. Those 3 things to me are important in terms of the systems that we build and help support. And then, like I've always mentioned, it's not a matter of if, but it's when. So when that incident does occur, we need to have that incident response plan on the shelf and ready to go, and that's what we're working on as well, and have staff be able to act without having to think. So we're going to be prepared. We're going to be work on containment, analysis, and all those incident activities that come with that. A little bit more about our redundancy and reliability, our 3 R's. Just so that council probably knows, is we try to build redundancy into our network. We have multiple routes that would connect the fire station and the police department, or we have multiple internet providers, so that if one does get knocked offline or what have you, or a backhoe hits a conduit, that at least there's a different route or a different mechanism, so that that officer out in the field has connectivity back when it's needed. We're going to build failover. We use cloud services. We have virtualized systems that can be moved from one data center to the other on a moment's notice, and we're going to continue to push our offline. As I mentioned, backups are going to continue to be important. And then the upcoming alternate dispatch, the new 911 alternate site that is going in near Station 6 with the police department. We're building a pretty significant data center in there as well, and that's going to be our redundant site. So if something were to happen, a fire or whatever, all of those services would, again, automatically move out there, and we would be continuing to operate with hopefully little glitch, but that's the plan anyway. From the IT perspective and the multi-layered approach, I'm not going to go too heavy into the weeds here. Just know that we're trying to put protection in at all levels of our network, at the perimeter, in our cloud services. We have blocks in place where we actually limit connections from outside the United States, the continental United States. 99.9999% of the people applying for a job are probably local or at least based in the United States, and so we're not really opening up our services to the outside world in that sense, so we're kind of locked it down that way. We're going to continue to invest, and thank you so much for all the support, for all of the investment of like the managed detection response system, and we do cybersecurity testing and email campaigns and all that other stuff that doesn't really get talked about a lot, but it's all part of the best practices in building that multi-layer program. And then also we have access through some of the systems and resources that, again, that council has approved over the years, to Security Operations Center with 24/7, 365 live support. So we have multiple 800 numbers that if we are in a pinch, we're reaching out to those folks, and they're scanning our systems and have the ability to jump in and really kind of guide us through some of those challenges if need be. We do weekly and quarterly vulnerability scans, and there are daily activity reports of be on the lookout for these services. And one of the one that recently came up was the virtual private network that we use to connect the outside world to some of our secure resources. We use that as a security mechanism. We found recently that the vulnerability was it was a vulnerability that was presented to us, and we're still working through some of that, but we're monitoring it. There's no, we feel pretty confident that even though it's still vulnerable, the geo-fencing and the blocking of resources and only allowing the appropriate connections and really the locking down and blocks that we've put in place are really kind of working. And so I just wanted to kind of point out that for us it's a win, and we're monitoring it and looking at it closely, even though the vulnerability still exists. It's kind of hard to see here, but I mentioned earlier the cybersecurity insurance program. We currently have a score of 77. The first, there's 3 metrics there on the right, I believe, of the image. The Beasley best practices. The first top line is what is required to be covered by this insurance program. The additional 2 steps are just the growth in our cybersecurity program and how we can get to really the most effective program that we can build. When we started, I think we've increased by like 30% or so. So it's a journey that we're going through, and we're checking off the box as soon as we get something in place. It's like one more thing that's helping us protection-wise. Excuse me. And then I did want to kind of touch on the enhanced cyber line there, the best practices. We're already working on some of those things, like the secure domain naming services and then the SIM implementation that's budgeted for this year. But there are going to be some things in that we may never get to, because some of the things and requirements are so intrusive that you lock a system out completely, and it's not practical access-wise. So some things you just need, and sometimes some things it's just a matter of how much risk can you live with. So from a technology perspective, some of the next steps, I keep harping on this disaster recovery, backups. We have some firewalls and enhanced security that we're implementing that is going to include some AI components. And then the automated security monitoring, analytics, and other tools, again, also include AI mechanisms as well. So it's a race. We're in a race with the trillion-dollar industry, and we're doing what we can to put in the infrastructure as well to be protected in that sense. So. Just some quick closing thoughts, Mayor. The cybersecurity really is not just an IT issue. Everyone plays a part. As I mentioned before, those core 4 steps, we want to make sure that if you do see something, report it. If take a moment to stop and think about what you're clicking on before you do, those kinds of things. And unfortunately, in a connected world, as I mentioned, it's not a matter of when an incident may occur. It's just how well can you contain it if it does, type of thing. And then lastly, it's a balancing act at times. Again, I mentioned access versus security, and if you put too much security in place, you're going to limit the access to a point where it becomes unusable, and vice versa. If you open up too much access, you're going to increase your vulnerability matrix, or however you want to say it. So we try to be as balanced as we can. We want to ensure that what we're doing is and we're working with our departments and team to provide that balance, because one way or another, all of those rocks fall and the whole system breaks. So with that, we're available for questions, and thank you.
Any questions of the IT team? No? Okay, I have a couple. Jesse, with regards to just your department, and I think I said it during the budget discussion, I think we need to frame your department as public safety. And the more we can frame it as that, people need to start to understand and see it as that versus just some super smart guys behind a computer. Because you protect the public in a way that it's not with guns drawn or police cars, but their data, right? And so, but you're also assisting all the other public safety departments. And so how do we keep you at the forefront of whatever you need, so that way when we think of public safety, it's also, you know, your department. And I think we, you know, that's at least one council member going, yeah, I think you guys are important in that public safety realm. My other question, we don't talk a lot about hardware. Are we good with hardware, that part of it, to where, you know, we have the latest and the best, so that way the programming that you're gonna get can run as efficiently as possible? Or are we reaching sort of the end life of some of those where we will need to really make a investment? Can you speak to that a little bit?
So hardware specific to like cybersecurity hardware, or just hardware in general across all city
general, just for IT,
operations?
yeah.
We're actually doing pretty well on that front. Council and city managers and I have worked, or we have worked with city manager to really put in a program and develop an appropriate life cycle for all of our hardware. So desktops and servers and what have you would get replaced on like a 4 to 6 year model, and making sure that we continue to have warranties covered throughout that life expectancy. Hardware for network and firewalls, and also have similar life cycle management programs in place for those things. So yes.
Excellent. And then my last question is with regards to this little diagram you have here, security, access, the balance. Is this something more concrete where it's actually a framework? It's something that is more systematic, or is it more, well, I'm recreation, so, you know, what do you feel? Well, I feel like I don't need much. Or is it much more systematic, in which there are, you know, check boxes that you set a standard for, where, hey, if it's a laptop you're checking out, I don't care which department you're in, it's this. Can you kind of assure us that it's much more systematic, so that way it can be defensible, and also something that we can be more assured of if some incident happens, and so that way it's just not hodgepodge, whatever department feels, and they kind of dictate to you instead of you setting a standard.
We work on trying to set some standards all the time, and that's part of the balance, honestly. It's human nature. If I come down too hard and make it too constraining, human nature is going to drive somebody around it. That's just how people operate, I think. But we do have standards in place. We do have whether it be cloud or we have a cloud policy, we have an AI policy in place. We've tried to make it where, you know, software installations would be approved only by us, but at the end of the day, a simple USB stick plugged into anything can ruin that whole block, and come, you know, that whole house of cards would come down if unless we again lock that down completely and then make it a little bit more cumbersome for people to not be able to get their files transferred or whatever. That's a small example, but it's a daily challenge, and that's just the nature of IT, really. If we try to make sure that we're doing the appropriate things, and we're going to work with all departments and everyone to try to make sure that they have the access they need. Sometimes those two things aren't congruent.
And I guess it would fall more with you, Andy, to see if that is something you're currently, if that's a comfort level that you have, or do we need more systems and processes in place so that way at least there's a standard? And so I don't know much, I don't know enough about it to where what is comfortable, but I think they need to be empowered in order to sort of have the voice to say, hey, this is the minimum. And so I know you want access, but this is the risk that we have, so.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure of working with Jesse for 3 years and being educated by him on IT issues. I don't have that background, but I am highly confident in the standards that we have that go across citywide that have been implemented in the last few years, especially. His team has done a great job of implementing those, and that other balancing of working with departments to make sure the technology is usable. So that's been, we have a standard, and that's been worked through. And then when a department wants to use a new software, something new, it has to go through IT to make sure that it meets our standards. So I feel confident that our standard is in place. Does it need to be adjusted and looked at constantly? I think so, because this world is evolving constantly. So we may see some new things. Like council recently was having to use multi-factor authentication, for example, which is a hurdle at times for all of us. I'm just looking. But you know, those things are those hurdles, but they are critical to keeping us safe, so we don't have a breach that takes down our whole entire system.
Okay. And thank you guys for all the work that you have. We're gonna go ahead and open the public comment. Any comments from the public on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and close the public. This is just a sort of a receive and file, so we'll move on. Thank you very much. Patrick, Brett, and Jesse. Yeah. Okay, this is item 12 now. Let's consider approval, adopting a position of opposition to Proposition 50 on the November 4, 2025 ballot, authorizing temporary changes to congressional district maps. Staff on this is our Assistant City Manager, Paul Armendariz.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. At the September 8th, 2025 council meeting, during the council comments, staff received council consensus for staff to bring back an item to consider approving a resolution adopting a position of opposition to Proposition 50. So quick summary on what Prop 50 is. Prop 50 requires temporary use of new congressional district maps through 2030. It directs Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to resume enacting congressional district maps in 2031, and it establishes a policy supporting nonpartisan redistricting commissions nationwide. A yes vote means that the state would use new legislatively drawn congressional district maps starting in 2026. California's new maps would be used until the California Citizens Redistricting Commission draws new maps following the 2030 U.S. Census. A no vote means current congressional district maps drawn by the California Citizens Redistricting Commission would continue to be used in California until the commission draws new maps following the 2030 U.S. Consensus. This is taking place through a statewide special election on Tuesday, November 4th of 2025. So up on the screen, there are 3 different maps showing the congressional district maps starting with 2011 following the 2010 census. The middle exhibit is the current map following the 2020 census, U.S. Census, and the map on the far right is what's being proposed through Prop 50. The star in the middle of the map, that gold star, is where the city of Clovis is located. And if I drill down into that, the exhibit on your left-hand side there is the current congressional district boundaries. Up to the right of that, you'll see a red boundary. That is the city of Clovis limits. There are some numbers surrounding that. Those are the congressional districts. You'll see in the current congressional district boundary map that the city of Clovis is fully within District 20. On the right-hand side is the proposed district map with Prop 50, or what's being proposed with Prop 50. The same thing up to the top right, you'll see a red outline, which is the city of Clovis limits, and you'll see the proposed districts within, or that the city of Clovis is within, that being District 5, 20, and 21. That concludes staff's presentation. We're available for questions and council comments.
Okay, any questions or comments regarding this?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilmember Bessinger.
I recall when we redistrict for our elections, a year ago? Part of the presentation we got was from NDC, a company that deals with redistricting and things like that. And there are 3 different criterias that you had to meet to redistrict legally. Under federal laws, there's equal protection, the Federal Voting Rights Act, and you cannot racially gerrymander districts. Under California criteria, they have to be geographically contiguous, avoid division of neighborhoods and communities of interest. They have to have easily identifiable boundaries, and they have to be compact. And under the California prohibition, it says, quote, shall not adopt election district boundaries for the purpose of favoring or discriminating against an incumbent political candidate or political party. When you look at what occurred to the city of Clovis in 2020, when the Citizens Independent Redistricting Committee, when they redid our map, they took us out of the metropolitan area and linked us in a very strange way through the mountains to Kern County and Bakersfield. Why did they do that? Well, because they didn't want to have any additional conservative legislators at either the state or federal level. When you look at what the proposal here is, on the right, they're going to take Clovis. Right now, we're all in one district. We're going to be split into 3 districts. And the district that I have the most angst with is District 5. Because what it does is it takes from basically City Hall north, we go all the way to the Nevada border, across the Sierras to the Nevada border, north to Alpine County and south to San Bernardino County. That is not, it's not compact, it is not contiguous, it splits Clovis into 3s. Why would they do that? Well, they're saying that this is an emergency because of what's happening in Texas. I don't live in Texas. I don't vote in Texas. But to basically send the voices of our citizens literally and figuratively out into the wilderness, which is what they're doing, out across 120 into the Owens Valley, up to Alpine County, down to San Bernardino County. This makes no sense other than to silence voices that don't speak the party line. Now, I did read, we got quite a few ones asking us to vote or to support Prop 50, and I understand what they're saying, and I appreciate their voice. It's only temporary. It's temporary until 2032. That's not temporary to me. It's an emergency. No, frankly, it's not. This is politics. This is about creating, and kind of cut it short. There are 52 California caucus congressional seats. 43 are Democrat, 9 are Republican. With this, the Republicans would probably lose 3 to 4 seats at least. Is that what the plan is? Yes, it is. You cannot say, I'm saving democracy, but I'm going to do it in a very sneaky, undemocratic way. You can't have it both ways. It was bad enough when they cut us out of the metropolitan area and linked us with our friends in Bakersfield. That made no sense unless you were looking at the politics. This makes no sense because of the politics. You don't have to like the current federal administration. That's your right. But you don't have the right to disenfranchise your neighbors, which is what this is doing, and spending $300 million doing it. When we have people in Los Angeles who still can't pull permits for their houses that were burned to the ground a year ago. So if these maps were brought forth in 2032, they would not be approved because of the laws that involve redistricting. And you can't say, in my opinion, well, there's an emergency, so these rules don't count. That's a double-edged sword. And right now in Sacramento, we have 120 state legislative seats. 30 of them are Republican. Is the goal here to just either silence us or tell us to shut up or move? Because there's really no other way of looking at it. When you look at the map on the right, I met the congressman from Northern California the other day. His district, if you look on the left, his district is on the right upper portion of that map. His district is being changed, yes, up there. His district is being changed to go all the way down to Sausalito. Why would they link Trinity County to Sausalito? Because they want to get rid of him. You can't do the right thing the wrong way. I'm going to be asking for the council to, on behalf of all of our voters, because this is a precedent. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't expect that California is ever going to become I don't think the pendulum's going to swing too far. But when you start a precedent and you say it's okay in an emergency to violate people's rights, like we did during COVID, when we shut businesses down and said, okay, this is an important business, we're going to let them stay open, but the hairdressers and the barbers have to shut down. And yes, you sell flooring, but you have to close, but you can go to Lowe's and get it. People went under. And I was really proud of how we handled COVID enforcement. This is bad. And I think that, and I understand the voices of people who are displeased with the way things are. But this is not how to do it. And this is, quite frankly, in my opinion, this is a governor's push because he wants to be the president of the United States. And this is the wrong way of doing things like that. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Mayor
Yeah.
Pro Tem Pierce.
I'll just share my thoughts as well. I, of course, agree with everything that Councilmember Bessinger just said. And I think there's two other points here. This coming from the City Council of the City of Clovis, I think the only thing we need to look at is the proposed congressional district boundaries that Prop 50 would create here in the City of Clovis. Carving us up into 3 districts is going to significantly impair our voice and our ability to really advocate for ourselves at the national level. As you know, Drew pointed out, we're currently represented by someone out of the Bakersfield area, but I have to credit Congressman Vince Fong for being very responsive. He works very well with us. If I call him, he picks up the phone and he connects me to the staff member that can further our request. He's been here in Clovis. He's worked with us on these things. But to have to do that 3 times and is not going to be in the best interest of the needs of the city of Clovis. So for me, that is the only thing I need to see to recognize that this is not in the best interest of our community. But I think the other point that people like to say on the emergency part of it, or but Texas, there's two main differences between what went on in Texas and what's going on with our governor and this push for Prop 50. Number one is it was Biden's DOJ, Department of Justice, that got the ball rolling with what Texas was doing. The second part of that is it's Texas's legislature that was able to handle the entire thing because they weren't violating their own state constitution. We have a governor who continues to thumb his nose at the will of the people he is supposed to represent. In 2008 and 2011, the voters of the state of California said they wanted an independent citizens redistricting commission. I don't always agree with that commission, all right? But that's what the voters have said, and it is independent. What our governor is saying, as he did when he ran for governor, and we had a ballot proposition to keep the death penalty, Gavin Newsom as a candidate said, I will abide by the will of the voters of California. The voters of the state of California in that election supported continuing the death penalty. What did he do when he got elected? He said a moratorium on the death penalty here in the state of California.
Sir,
Against Prop
she has a
50.
right, as a council member, they have a right to make comments and to justify what, and even have questions, so, yes.
So that's one example. This is yet another example. He has time and time again had the people of the state of California tell him what we want, and he has gone the exact opposite direction of that. That's all this is. So the fact that we already have in our state constitution how we draw our boundaries, that's why it's coming to a vote to start with. And that, again, is just another example of why the arguments saying that this is a but Texas thing are completely irrelevant. So in the interest of the city of Clovis and our citizens, I am absolutely supporting our resolution being opposed to Prop 50, and I am pleased with the work that's being done by our other elected representatives on behalf of the No on 50 campaign, and will continue to support and participate with those as I do campaign against Prop 50 because it's the right thing to do for the city of Clovis, the state of California.
Thank you. Matt, did you have any comments or questions? No? Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and open the public portion, and then we can bring it back, and if we have anything else to add after the public comments, we can do so at that time. If you would just state your name, give your address for the record, you will have 3 minutes. And before anyone else speaks, I just want to state that we do have 12 letters regarding this item, and then each of the council members has had that. So go ahead, sir.
Yes, my name is Richard Caputo. I'd like to comment on this issue that, usually redistricting is done every 10 years when a census occurs. And over the past 55 years, 36 of the 40 instances where there was a mid-decade redistributing, they were made in response to court orders due to violations of the Voting Rights Act. So almost overwhelmingly, this is done every 10 years. This time, however, Mr. Trump has asked Texas to break with tradition and not only redistrict at the 5-year point, but to give him 5 more Republican districts. This was kind of like his call to Georgia Secretary of State to find him a bunch more votes in the 2020 election. To counter the shameful behavior, Prop 50 is a temporary emergency safeguard to stop Trump's attempt at flagrant election distortion. Texas Republicans responded last month and bowed low to Trump's command and cooked the books, so to speak. They ran through a map that erased 5 Democratic districts. We cannot tolerate this distortion in our national election process, and California responded to try and cancel this flagrant attempt to hijack the next House election. Our answer is Prop 50, where one-time redistricting is to be conducted to generate up to 5 more Democratic House seats. We do not like this, and we'd like to go back to our independent, non-political committee at the end of Trump's current term. This independent committee is how we would like all states to conduct redistricting, but we do not live in a perfect world. If Prop 50 succeeds, we will balance the election process between Texas and California and let the people decide who we elect. I encourage this body to support yes vote on Prop 50. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
I think it's time for the 7th inning stretch. And interestingly enough, I came here because my wife wouldn't let me concentrate. She was really up in arms about what was going on at the senior center. So I came here and said, okay, I'm going to break away from that. Oh my goodness. And it had to do with pickleball, it had to do with dancing. Anyway.
Can you get your name, sir?
Pardon me?
Can you give your name?
My name is Alfred Gutierrez.
Okay.
I live at 746 Bergen Avenue here in Clovis. I'm going to repeat much of what this gentleman just said. On January 2nd, 2021, 4 years, 9 months ago, during an hour-long conference call, then U.S. President Donald Trump pressured Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes and overturn the state's election results from the 2020 presidential election. 2 months ago, July 15, 2025, Donald Trump pushed Texas Republicans to redraw the state's congressional maps to create more House seats favorable to his party to help the GOP retain control of the chamber and next year's midterm elections. On August 23rd of this year, Texas passed the midterm redistricting sought by Trump. I've been looking at the ads on TV, and they go one way, and you can't tell whether they're saying no or they're saying yes. They're very confusing, so I started looking at these facts. Proposition 50 is Californians saying, no, you cannot steal elections by manipulating red states to find votes. Proposition 50 is a simple countermeasure that shows that Californians will not stand idly by while cheaters using cheap tricks attempt to destroy the democratic process. Voting yes on 50 does not take away the rights of anyone. Rather, by voting no on Proposition 50, you undermine the democratic process. That's how I look at the two ads and say, that's very simple. No one's pushing anybody to any valley. Nobody, and as far as being disenfranchised, get used to it. My community's been doing that all my life, even before then. But you're still, and if you want more seats in the legislature, get your people out to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. Anyone else?
I'm coming. Getting a little slower
I
as
didn't see
time
you,
goes on. Anyway, I'm Jenny Crin. I live on Bullard Avenue in Clovis, California. And I would like to also say that I am opposed to the council having a resolution regarding Prop 50. The city council, the municipal governments in California are nonpartisan, at least in their elections. And there's, I think, good reason for that. The job of a city council is to take care of their communities, to make sure they're safe, that services are functioning, that their communities are desirable places to live. And I think that is really where, the focus should be, that old saw about city councils take care of potholes is where you need to be looking. And the reason they want them to be nonpartisan is because it can cause divisiveness in communities when city councils get into overtly political areas. There is nothing about Prop 50 that has to do with how Clovis is governed. It has to do with federal elections, our federal Congress persons and how they are elected. And I just feel that this is not an area that the city should venture into, again, because, you know, nationally, the atmosphere is extremely divisive, and I don't think any of us are happy with that. And that this is an area that I think that city council, they need to take care of the community and not create more divisiveness in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Hello, my name is Steve Trevino. I live on Bullard. I agree with a young lady over here. We got more important things in this town than Proposition 50. I live on Bullard, and I've been here 100 times asking for crosswalks on my street. I see kids crossing the street. I see kids crossing the street in those motorbikes and those tricycles and everything else. And I just hope they don't get hit by a car. And that's what the city of Clovis should be worrying about. As far as Congressman Vince Vaughn, I think he's doing a horrible job. I see him online. People are always complaining that they call him, they write him letters. He doesn't answer. He hasn't been here to do a community speech in front of the people that live here. I've seen him I see that he comes to Clovis. And excuse me, miss, I always follow you on Facebook. And he comes and talks in front of the Republican women and all these other little functions. But we never know ahead of time that he's coming. He hides from everybody. He hides from the Democrats because we have questions that we want to ask him. And he hides. So what's the difference, you know, if he's our congressman or not? He's not. He's only looking out for President Trump. Anything has to do with the Republican Party, he votes yes. Republican Party, Epstein files, keep them hidden. Yeah, let's keep them hidden. Don't release them. And he votes yes on Republicans. You know, years ago we used to have a congressman. His name was B.F. Sisk. Years ago, he got elected. I don't know how many times. You know why? Because he rode the fence. He listened to everybody's problems. And he voted yes for the farmers, and yes for certain people, yes for Republican issues, and yes for Democrat issues. And that's the way a congressman should be, because he's elected by the people, Democrats and Republicans, not just for Republicans. And so Vince Vaughn, I'm sorry, if he has my grade, he has F grade. Okay, so anyways, hey, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino.
My name is Eric Rollins. I live on Ashcroft Avenue in Clovis. I want to thank Mr. Trevino for bringing up a good point, that politicians represent everybody. The problem with this redistricting is that my voice gets erased. And I think everybody's voice should be listened to. They're redistricting in ways, if you look at these maps closely, communities are not contiguous. In some cases, there's this little tiny line that connects two communities that don't have anything in common. They're doing things like not taking into account the fact that in order for a congressional person to represent his community properly, if we look at one of those districts, he has to cross the Sierras, and there's not many opportunities to cross the Sierras. So unless he has a plane to do it, he's going to have to choose which side, and he even, you know, which group of his constituents that he visits and sees, or she, who knows. So I'm very much against Prop 50. I think that all of the arguments about, well, Texas is doing the wrong thing, so we need to do the wrong thing. No, I think that we always need to do the right thing. And I think the right thing for Clovis is to vote no on Prop 50, and I am strongly in support of this resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eric.
My name is Art Ruth, and I live at 1779 North Piccadilly in Clovis. I've heard the arguments, and, you know, I can understand how people might be upset that with the redistricting here, and like you said, your representation. Being a Democrat and moving here about 50 or 20 years ago, I realized that I lived in a very conservative community. And, you know, I felt the same way. And, you know, as far as not being represented by my local politicians. You know, I think I could argue, you know, on a local level. I can understand. I've been actually at the polls in 2024, and I looked at my candidates, local candidates, and they were two choices, a Republican or a Republican. I didn't have a Democratic choice, okay? It's just worked out that way. But I live out at Harlan Ranch. But this is unusual, and I'm sure that most governors would not like to be in a position to have to do this. And I know it's temporary, and I know it's long, maybe longer than you'd like. And I understand that too, because you wanted to go back to the census at least, you know, by 2030, right? And it's 2032. But the thing is, beyond all these arguments, right now, this nation is looking at a group of people, and I'm not going to say they're all Republicans. I don't even think they are Republicans. They say they are Republicans, but I don't think they are. Have a disdain for democracy, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to take control and keep control, because that's more important to them than democracy. And you have some very big amount of money that is pushing and controlling these people. And even in this state, who's financing, who's a major financier of the anti-Proposition 50, and it's some billionaire, okay, that has a huge amount of money that he's raised. And the whole, it's a game, right now, it's not just California issue, and it's not just Newsom or anything. You have to think long and hard at why they did this. They did it in response to Texas. If Texas hadn't done that, there wouldn't be any discussion. It's not only happening in Texas, you mentioned Texas, it's happening in Indiana, it's happening in a lot of red states. They have no problems doing it. And it's not just because of California, it's because Texas and the encouragement of Trump wanting to guarantee that he has the House because he doesn't want to be impeached. Let's be honest about it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I hate to say it, I'm not real happy about Proposition 50. I don't want it. I'd rather have us back in a normal situation where, you know, we base it on the census and every state plays by the rules and does not try to mess with the election process. But it's been happening more and more. I went up to Vaughn's. There's some guy that's basically talking about a new voter ID, okay? It's like Jim Crow laws. He's pumping out something that he wants people to sign that they don't think that, he gives an example that.
Mr. Hart, can I
a
ask you
dog-
to summarize real quick?
Okay.
Okay.
That a dog voted, some woman claimed. Okay, there's a real effort to destroy our democracy, and I'm for 50 because I have to fight back somehow. I'm not going to be sitting on the sidelines. So that's it.
Thank you, Art.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. I'm under the belief that two wrongs don't make a right. I believe what happened in Texas, that's their policy, that's their constitution allows them to do that. We have a constitution that allows us to have the independent commission work on it. So we're changing it to change it back in 32. If it's such a good idea, we should keep it that way continuously. That would change our constitution, we move on. They're changing it back because they know it's not a good move. So I'm in favor of your proclamation for the no on 50. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else?
I wonder about the distortions I'm hearing about America. Texas changed its rules because of a Supreme Court decision about Hispanics being underrepresented. Today, Texas, even with this change, has 56% of its voters are Republican, but less than half of the representatives will be Republican. So there wasn't anything wrong with what Texas did. The other thing I was hearing is this thing about our democracy. We don't have a democracy, we have a republic. A democracy is 5 wolves and 3 chickens deciding on what we're going to have for dinner tonight. And that's what the Democrats want. They want control of it, and they've got several states in this country that have more Democratic representatives than they do voters. And California is just going to add to that. So they're the ones that are manipulating everything. And I think we've got to stand by the idea to stop this from happening any further than it already has gone. Thank you. Oh, Bill Scott.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public portion and bring it back to the council. And so, Matt, did you want to say anything before?
No, just
Yeah.
that this is going to be, this is a divided topic. I mean, just like every other topic that tends to be on the national level or state level when it comes to elections. And, personally, I don't agree with Prop 50 and what it's doing either. So, the one thing about all of this is everybody gets to vote. You're all going to have your say. We're just a body up here that's forming an opinion on what we think. It's not going to change how you vote. It's going to be whatever the voters of California decide ultimately what they want to do. I don't agree necessarily maybe with what's going on in Texas either. I mean, for changing of any districting outside of a census or whatever it may be, I don't know, but I really don't see how Prop 50 benefits Clovis in any way. I mean, to split Clovis up and to do what it's doing as a city is bad in my opinion. So I'm a no on 50, but like I said, these topics seem to be divisive no matter how you talk about them.
Yeah, and personally, I realized when I was voted on, I'm voted to represent Clovis. And so where would I stand if it was a Democrat president and all this Democrat governor doing it? And where would I be if it was a Republican? I'm a rules and procedures guy. We got rules, we got procedures. Follow it. And as a representative helping to govern over Clovis, it is more difficult now that I have to go and talk to 3 congressmen for the issues of the city of Clovis. I have to, the residents also have difficulty now going, okay, I'm here, I can go there, he's over there, he has to go to that one. And we here already did not like districts in our city. And so the more we can keep the city of Clovis intact, which ever since I got involved in public service has always been one congressman overseeing our city. And so I look at it, I don't think Texas should be doing it, but I'm not Texas. I don't think California should be doing it. I'm gonna stick to what do I do to protect Clovis, and that is to support this resolution. I did have one comment for my colleagues to see if on the third to the last whereas, do we want to give specific information about how we don't like the three? It says it, Prop 50 proposes dividing communities, and so it says it in general, but since it's our resolution, do we want where we don't like that now we have 5, 20, and 21, or just 3? Do we want to add some language like that or keep it general?
Well, I think we should be a little bit specific, saying that Clovis now is being divided into 3s,
Yeah.
and one of the districts, District 5, encompasses 10 counties in the state in a behemoth of a district that goes all the way to Nevada. So I maybe just saying our voices being split up with 3 people, with 3 representatives, and a district that covers 10 counties.
Can we add something like that, Andy? Is that okay with the rest of the council? That was my only addition to the resolution as I read it, so, okay.
Yeah, I support those amendments, just
Okay.
specifying exactly what this does to Clovis. And with that, I would make a motion to adopt a position of opposition to Proposition 50 on the November 5th, 2025 ballot, the resolution in the packet with the amendment stated.
Before I second it, if this did not, in my opinion, adversely affect the citizens of Clovis, I wouldn't be part of this, but second.
Okay. We have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have one absent. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Now we will go to city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a quick shout out for our Clovis Mobile Rec program. They will be heading to David McDonald Park next weekend at Clovis Night Out. We also have the Wall That Heals coming to Clovis. That was brought up by Mr. Rogers. Encourage everyone to go out and pay their respects. If you haven't been to the memorial, it's amazing in Washington, D.C., and this is a mini replica of it. So I encourage you to go pay your respects. We have a car show at the Senior Center coming up, and we have a few surveys out on the street. Our Community Development Block Grant is collecting information from residents on community needs. That is out. And we also have a overall Clovis community survey going on right now. I encourage you to engage in that. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay. I'm going to move to city council comments. Councilmember Baskel.
Went to the NKGSA water meeting this past week, and there wasn't, I don't want to say that word. You know what I'm avoiding. I don't want to say water board. But we went to the meeting anyways. There wasn't a lot to report out on. Next month's meeting, we'll actually have an update on water tables and predictions and how we ended up for the year and what the projections look like going forward. So this meeting was more on well mitigations and registrations and whatnot happening throughout the county. The other thing was the Pink Patch Project kicked off on October 1st. And our police department is very much a supporter of that, and as am I. I spoke at that kickoff, and I was very impressed to see where it had come from. Yeah. You know, the very first year with our community partners, and having done that back in, I guess it was 2019. I think it was the first year being part of that, and to see how big it's gotten with the reception of the survivors and the things that they were doing there was very impressive. So thanks to the police department and your efforts to continue to do that. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Bessinger.
I missed the last meeting because I was at my 50th class reunion in New Jersey. I did bring gifts, but I forgot them. But I'll wait till Lynn's here. I attended the memorial service for retired Sheriff Steve McGarrion today. The mayor and I were both there. Steve McGarrion was a iconic person in the Central Valley, and he will be missed dearly. I always appreciated his sage advice and his kind word for almost everybody he met. Good man. The mayor and I are headed to Phoenix for the next 2 days. We're going to be attending a semiconductor convention with the hopes of generating some business for Clovis. And that's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce?
Yeah, a lot of great events that I think a lot, if not the majority of us, were able to attend recently. Last week was the State of the County Luncheon. That was a well-presented presentation of what's going on in our county, and appreciate our partners there always kind of keeping us in the loop on those things. Also, last week was Clovis Unified's State of the District Breakfast and the ribbon cutting for the new Terry Bradley Education Center campus with Sanchez Intermediate and Clovis South High School. So that was an exciting day to see our community partners being able to celebrate that. Another very well done event. Wanted to thank everyone who participated and helped put on our employee dinner this past Friday. We always want to make sure that those who serve as staff for the city of Clovis know how much we appreciate all that you do, because more often than not, you're the reason people love living in Clovis, and that's something I know all of my colleagues have shared in one form or fashion. And so it was great to be able to celebrate that and see just how many people have lengthy careers with this city. I think that's a testament to the culture and the Clovis way of life and how that extends to those who work at the city. So very well done event. I know it was a lot of hard work that goes into those as well. So to everybody who helped make that a reality, it really was great. Just yesterday, the mayor and I both were able to attend a 20th anniversary celebration for Grace Place. They are in Old Town Clovis and have been in their building as a church for the past 8 years. One of their favorite things that they get to participate in is what they call their Fall Festival, where they shut down a street in Old Town on Halloween and get to interface with the community and meet the people that are in their neighborhood. And so it was really great to be able to celebrate their 20th anniversary with them yesterday, and appreciated that invitation. And I think that's it. Lots of other great stuff coming up. We just came from getting to see the Real-Time Information Center over at our police department headquarters. We saw a presentation about that a few weeks ago, so it was great to have the invitation to actually be in that room and see the incredible work that they're doing. And the other thing what was the issue? Something about, reinvesting in the community, talking about with the Marjorie Mason Center, and that the budget and the money that we as a council have the opportunity to approve for things like the Real-Time Information Center, those really are reinvestments into our community and public safety, whether it's IT, as the mayor pointed out, that really is a public safety issue. And so a lot of times we don't get to do as much as we would like to do. And so the fact that we have departments and people in place who are able to do so much with not enough, again, is just a great testament to the people who serve this community. And again, hopefully we will continue to be putting more and more dollars to those things, because it truly is what our community needs and deserves to stay the safest city in the valley and at the top of all of these other things. So that was really great, and I appreciate the invitation for that as well. And I think that's it.
Mayor, could I have 10 seconds?
Yes, go ahead.
I forgot, on the wall that is going to be coming to town, 1968 Corporal Andy Reitz, United States Marines. I know that there have to be other Clovis veterans who died in Vietnam, but Andy lived right across the street from City Hall, and he was a personal friend of my wife's family, and I know Mr. Davino knew him very well. So I will be looking for that name. I hope other Clovis citizens do too.
Okay. A lot of the ribbon cuttings we've been going to with Chad and our city manager, and I appreciate the fact that we are showing up, because I think it's really helpful to the community. We went to Panda Express, to, what is it, Tractor Supply, to Dosun, and so quite a bit. And so hopefully we continue to show up at those and just seeing businesses pop up. We went to the fair, and able to represent there, and then we also did the 4.0, represented as the mayors were up there this time, drawing over 5,000 students with 4.0s and just giving, in the end, a car for one of the students. Also went to former State Representative Mike Briggs, his memorial here right before our employee appreciation. And excellent work to Rebecca and the rest of the volunteers with employee appreciation. I think the council really enjoy just being able to see all our employees. With regards to the pink patch, Matt didn't say it, but he was involved at the very beginning, and because of the work I do during the day. And we went to him at that time as chief, and he was willing to step up. And then he got the Police Officers Association to step up. And since then till now, our police department, along with the CPOA, has donated over $75,000 in just the pink patches and in just their raffles, more than any other police department. And there's over 20 that are involved. And so that just goes to show how much our officers really and the community support breast cancer awareness. So thank you, Matt, for your participation from the beginning. Went to CUSD and the ribbon cutting for the new Terry Bradley Center. And I think during that time, there was also Clovis Fest. And so the chamber did an excellent job on that. And I think most of us were at the State of the County address. And so hearing that the state of the county is strong. And appreciate the CUSD board recognizing our youth commissioners, and Chad and Brianna were able to be there, and so it's just great for them to be recognized for their service there. And then just to announce, the Boys and Girls Club received a grant from, I think, Calviva, so that they can give free membership for kids who want to join the Boys and Girls Club, and ours is on Gettysburg there in Helm, and able to go and celebrate that grant, which is great because they'll get a free membership for an entire year. And on, I think, Wednesday, Senator Shannon Grove will be on Wake Up Clovis. So if any of you are wanting to wake up, is it 7, Chad? Those are, yeah, to go and see her speak. If you are here, please go support her. And I wanted to report out business as in the committee, the Council of Governments. We received a report last month, and the steering committee has brought up the actual buckets or categories for the funding allocations. They are still working on the actual funding allocation numbers. They did vote to recommend a 30-year Measure C. The 4 buckets are existing neighborhood roads, public transportation, active transportation, regional connectivity, other, and then administration is the last one. So those are the buckets that they will be working on. I think they have not finished because when they put all the allocation percentages down, somehow there was still 9% left over. And so now they have to kind of go back and see if they want to reallocate some of the percentages back into those individual buckets. And so hopefully we get it at the end of October, and from there I will report back and we'll share it with the staff so that way they can kind of get a full analysis of what we can do if the allocations are as stated, and whatever the staff brings back, I think that will be the position at least of me representing this city and this council moving forward on what we can or cannot do with regards to the recommendation, or if we want to advocate for any changes to the actual numbers that come forward. So I wanted to just report that to you. So pay attention, and if you can, please go to the COG meeting. It is the last Thursday of the month, and this next meeting will be very important. So if you feel strongly, especially with regards to Measure C, because it affects all of you contribute to the measure through your tax dollars. And so please come and make your voices heard at that meeting in this downtown. And that is all I have. And so thank you everyone for being here this evening. We will now adjourn to closed session. We have conference with labor negotiators. Is anyone here in the public like to address comments on that at all? Okay. And do we anticipate reporting out anything?
We're not asking for action tonight, so there'll be no action to report.
Okay. So with that, we are adjourning to closed session.